research. Oh, no,
Okay, so in general, let me just brief it as well. We know kingdom Monera, these are unicellular prokaryotic organism, which was the first kingdom within the whole of the classification of living organism. And we know they are prokaryotic because they don't have their DNA enclosed within the nuclear material. I'm sorry, but then it's like kind of distracting to me or moving your leg. Yeah, and then we had seen different types of bacteria based on their shapes. Cocci, these were the spherical shape. Bacilli, they were the rod shape. Vibrio, they were the comma shape. And the spirulum, which is spiral shaped bacteria. And then there are so many examples of these, which we had seen here. So now this video will quickly outline what are the characteristics, how do they look like, and so on. So we'll just watch this and then we'll continue further.
Kingdom Monera. Kingdom Monera includes bacteria, which most abundant microorganisms. Bacteria live in extreme habitats like hot springs, deserts, snow, and deep oceans. Prokaryotes are bacteria which are unicellular and have no distinct nucleus. They have a naked DNA. Structure is simple, but behavior is complex. They show the most extensive metabolic diversity. Some of the bacteria are autotrophic, that is, they prepare their own food material from inorganic substances. Vast majority of bacteria are heterotrophic, that is, they do not synthesize their own food but depend on other organisms or on dead organic matter for food.
Okay.
Naked DNA.
Huh?
Naked DNA.
Naked DNA means that is not enclosed in any space. That is what is naked DNA. Okay, so I assume kingdom Monera is kind of clear because that doesn't have much in the sense, like in the context to the syllabus, there is not much to explain there. The next kingdom that we will look at is the kingdom Protista. So this is again a unicellular type of living organism, but they are eukaryotic. The difference between Monera and Protista is Monera is prokaryotic, Protista is eukaryotic. And they were also called as Protista, but that name is not used any longer. We all use Kingdom Protista as a name, but that is just for your information. So these are single celled because of course unicellular with a well-defined nucleus, and that is what is the characteristic of eukaryote, that they contains a nuclear membrane around the nuclear material, right? That is the genetic material. So these include both unicellular green autotrophic organism like Chlamydomonas. You can see the structure of the Chlamydomonas in this diagram here, as well as unicellular non-green heterotrophic organism. Heterotrophic and autotrophic, can someone remind me the difference? What was it? Anyone sitting here or on the other side? So which one is which? Correct. So autotrophic, they make their own food, and the example is Chlamydomonas. Obviously, why will they be green then? Because they will have chlorophyll pigment, and so they will be able to do photosynthesis. So they are autotrophic. Heterotrophic will be non-green because they don't have their own like photosynthesis mechanism or any other mechanism to synthesize the food. Rather, they are dependent for food on the other organisms. So that is something like Euglena, which you can see here, amoeba and paramecium. These are the commonly used examples in the slide. So that is when I said sit here. And also some of the multicellular descendants like Pandorina, which is a green algae, they are derived from this unicellular eukaryotic organism, right? So main examples, like I assume amoeba everyone knows, right? You have studied it before. Huh. And paramecium also. So like if you soak wheat or let's say barley or any of the grains for a day or overnight in the water, mostly you get these organisms growing in them. But again, depends on what is the source and so on. But that is how the experiments are done. If you want to take out paramecium from some solution or some whatever environmental factors, you do it that way.
How does it go inside the
No, not it doesn't grow inside the grain. It is mostly present in the water source, and then from there it grows.
So does it come there with feed on?
It feeds on different other unicellular species. Yeah, of course, it also feeds on the different types of like grain nutrition as well at the end. So these are the different examples. Like again, the green one, that is the photosynthetic or the autotrophic one, is the Chlamydomonas, which is this. So again, like these ones, they are called flagella. There will be this one will be the nucleus, and then you have other cell organelles, including this chlorophyll-like pigment and so on. So that way there are different things, but we need not go into those details and individual structures. What we need to know is these are the examples of kingdom Protista. Now there are several subtypes of this kingdom Protista. Some of them they include the cilia or flagella. Now again, cilia or flagella, these are a mobility structure. That means they allow the movement of that particular organism. That is what is called as cilia or flagella. Usually, cilia is referred to as a hair-like structure, which is present on the cell wall or surface of the cells. That is cilia. And flagella is something like a whip, like extended tail, which is present with the organism. So you can see even Euglena has this, and even Chlamydomonas has it. Sorry?
Parents, skin.
Huh.
Yeah, right. What is that? That is it.
That has cilia on the side. You can see there are the small hair-like structure on the outermost wall. That is what is cilia. And that is when it is said some of them they have either cilia or flagella or sometimes even both, but not necessarily all of them they have it. And the main function of the cilia or flagella is for mobility. So that means whenever these organisms they have to move, they will be using this flagella-like structure. Sexual reproduction is by a process of cell fusion and zygote formation. So that is a typical mechanism of sexual reproduction, like what you know of in human or even in case of flowering plant. That is a type of sexual production. Something similar happens in terms of kingdom Protista as well. That does not mean they will be producing always the egg and sperm. They might have different structure. Moreover, they are called as a spore forming Protista. That means they form either the male spores and the female gametes are there, which will fuse and they will form the zygote. But again, that you need not go into those details. But yeah, if at all you have questions, we can talk about it. So, kingdom Protista is categorized into like 5 main groups, I can say. So, they are Chrysophytes, Dinoflagellates, Euglenoids, slime molds, and Protozoa. So again, these names you will have to remember to some extent, because that will be asked as an example. Okay, let's say for example, Euglenoid is on like in which kingdom, right? Then you have to remember the name that it is part of kingdom Protista. So kingdom Protista has been divided into different groups, and 5 of them they are Chrysophytes, Dinoflagellates, Euglenoids, slime molds, and Protozoa. Now, you might know some of the organisms from this category. which are more commonly found. So for example, the golden algae, which is called as desmid or diatoms. I don't know if I have put the picture or I haven't. Let me show you the diatoms. I'm sure you would have seen this diatoms, which is a type of algae for sure. Images. So yeah, these are actually the diatoms. You can see them like very microscopic because they are unicellular, right? So you won't be able to see them with naked eyes. So that's when you need to see them under microscope. So usually these are the diatoms, not really. These are all different algae. This is actually the perfect example of this diatom, which are present in a group, and then it looks like a ring-like structure arranged one after another. So that is what is diatom. Again, like plant bodies, those plant bodies which are those aquatic bodies or water bodies, you can say, which looks green, most likely they tend to have these diatoms. So like if at all you take this water sample from this water body and identify it in the like observe it under microscope, you might see these diatoms. There are quite many. We are looking at only 5 of them, which are kind of main ones. So that is diatoms. I don't know if you would know golden algae. This will be again, it just a little golden. This is, yeah, this is the golden algae. Like again, this you would have seen very commonly, like especially at the deep water surfaces. At the bottom there is this something like golden color growth, outgrowth. This is shown here as a plant structure, like leaf and plant or flower like structure, but that is not how it looks always. This is like a very, very high resolution picture. Ideally it looks like this. Yeah. So this is the actual picture of the golden algae. Then so that is in the category of the Chrysophytes. Then there is something called as Dinoflagellates. So they are usually photosynthetic and they are all marine. And like even the earlier case, they are all the water aquatic uh, organisms. The color they appear is dependent on the key pigment in their cells. So dinoflagellate has a special category, and that's when they are classified into red, blue, brown, green, and yellow, different type. So again, I will show you dinoflagellates. You would know this for sure, dinoflagellates. And see, I guess this one would be good picture. Yeah. Uh, Ideally, the diagram is like this. So this is the example of dinoflagellate, which looks like a weird creature, but then they have these different cellular structures, and you can see there is a chromatophore as well. Chromatophore means one which is helping taking the solar energy or light energy and helping the plant to synthesize some of its function. Sorry, to synthesize the food on its own. And these are like kind of high resolution pictures of these dinoflagellates under microscope.
Electron.
Yeah, no, not necessarily electron microscope. You can also have these pictures in a like a regular confocal microscope, we call it, which is a very compound microscope. And there you put what do you say, monochromatic light source, a single black and white kind of thing, or you can also convert the picture like this later, which is a processing part. Yeah, these are all unicellular and microscopic structures, so you won't be able to see them. So which one? This one. This can
I need one major help. Like computer making
Okay, 1 minute. Okay, people, you need to give me a minute. I will come back soon. Someone needs my help.
Sir, this presentation.
Resume. Okay. Yeah, I guess we were talking about that C thing, right? Yeah. This particular image, again, this can happen because of different phenomena. One of them could be dinoflagellate because they have something which is called as luminescent, right? Or it is also called as fluorescent, depending on what compound and what wavelength and so on. There are different things which just glows in presence of light.
So it's like fireflies.
Yeah, it's like fireflies. So no, it's not necessarily. You are talking about the luminescence, or you are talking about the dinoflagellate?
This comes in the water and you go inside, does it harm us?
I don't think so. It will be harmful because bioluminescence is not harmful as such.
So is it like are they luminescent because of some organelle or do they have some liquid?
So the bioluminescence is majorly always because of these compounds which are called as fluorescent proteins. So these are chemical molecules which have a specific ability to emit the light, and that is why that luminescence or fluorescence occurs. So that is the same case here as well.
So is it like blue light or is it blue because of
It's the blue pigment clearly. So again, just to show you that there are these, everyone would know this green fluorescent protein which is present in the fireflies, right? This is the color that you see in fireflies, and obviously they are being used in different purposes. So that is when you see all these different images. Then there is red fluorescent protein which looks red, and then there are again different images like this. Similarly, there is this blue fluorescent protein as well, which you saw in the diagram, and that is what is this. So this images, these are the blue fluorescent protein images. No, not this one. These ones I guess, but they also show green. But one of them is surely a blue fluorescent protein. Okay, enough about it. So that was the second category called dinoflagellate, where they are depending on the presence of pigment, they are differentiated further. Then the third category within kingdom Protista is Euglenoids. Now these Euglenoids, these are again freshwater habitat living organism in specifically the motionless water. Motionless means that means which is one which is not moving, and the cell wall is absent in them. So instead of the cell wall, a protein rich layer which is called as pellicle is present. So I will again show you the euglenoids. So for example, euglenoids. So these are the euglenoids. So you can see, like, this is a typical example. The outermost wall is kind of transparent, right? So that is a typical structure, and this is the diagram of euglenoid. It has a whip-like flagella or flagellum because it is singular, and then all the other like structures within those cells. But again, we need not go into the structural aspect. What you need to know is how does it look like. It is photosynthetic clearly because it has green pigments, and the cell wall is made up of protein rich layer, and it is not like it is sorry, it doesn't have a cell wall, but the outer membrane is made up of protein rich layer. So that is the euglenoid as an example of kingdom Protista. Then there is something called as slime molds. Now these are saprophytic. Saprophytic, again, anyone remembers what I had said last time? Saprophytic. There was something called as parasitic and saprophytic. No. They are heterotrophic any which ways, but they had different characteristics. Within heterotrophic, there were two types. One was parasitic, and the other one was saprophytic.
Parasite is the one in the body.
One which grows in the any other living organism's body. That is parasitic.
Saprophytic is which grows externally.
No, it grows on the dead animals or decaying animals.
Like fungus.
Fungus is a type of saprophyte for sure, but it is not type of protist. It's a different category.
Like maggots.
Yeah, but again, maggots is a different. It's an organism. It falls in the category of kingdom Animalia. But right, so you have to remember that. But saprophytes, these are the ones which grow on the decaying or dead organism. Now, the body moves along the putrefying leaves. Putrefying means decaying, or after death, whatever the process happens. After death, whatever process happens, that is called as putrefaction. And that particular process is known as putrefying or putrefaction of the leaves. And of course, of the twigs or roots and so on. And then these organisms, that slime mold, they will nourish themselves on the organic material present on the present from the bodies. Like for example, if the let's say a plant is dying or it's dead, right? After that, all that organic matter which was present or organic compounds which were present in that plant, on those organic matter, these slime molds will grow. And under favorable conditions, like in the surrounding, they will form an accumulation, and that is where they were called as plasmodial slime molds. So again, this you would have seen it commonly as well. Slime molds, especially the these ones you would have seen, or this one which is very commonly seen, right?
No, where commonly would look
On the plant surfaces,
Yeah.
or on the like dead plants specifically, dead leaves also. You can see here, dead leaves has this slime mold growing on it, right? So these are just the examples, and if you look at microscopically, they look like this, right? So they are like two. Again, this one is another example. So there are several such examples, like especially on the decaying plant, you will find this different things. Then the last one is the protozoa, which are again heterotrophic completely. That means they are dependent for food on the other organisms, and they survive either as parasites or predators. That means they will grow into the other animal's body, or they eat up something to survive, like in general. Like again, for example, amoeba or paramecium, these are all protozoa. So they fall in that category of protozoa. Sorry?
So what is saprophytes?
Saprophytic.
Oh yeah.
What did I explain?
Saprophytic, not saprophytic.
Ha. Yes. So saprophytic is something that grows on the decaying or a dead organism. So these are all the examples of protozoa. You can see paramecium again, which is commonly known. Euglena is another one. Amoeba is another one. So these are all different examples. Sorry, I don't think Euglena falls in this category. You can only take examples of amoeba and paramecium, which are the simpler ones to know. So that is the category of protozoa. Okay. Now, does anyone have any question in this
Yes.
kingdom Protista?
Please it up to me.
No. Do you have any questions here?
No.
Okay. So, anyone else? Ishan, Adil, Pratham, Ananya, Ruhani, Anavi. Yes.
Yeah, sir, I had a question.
Hmm.
So can you like go back to the slide? Can you go a slide piche?
Which one?
Yeah, this one. So then here it says that the third point. So it says the last line says and also some other multicellular descendants. So I didn't understand that.
So from these kingdom Protista, they will have certain descendants like Pandorina, which is a green algae. So I will show you this part because Pandorina algae. Yeah. So these algae they have been derived from the Protista category. So that is what it means.
So like
Multicellular descendants.
what do they mean derived? Like do they
Over
come
the
from
over the time when the evolution happens or has happened, these Pandorina type of algae they have been evolved from that Protista category.
so like from other organisms that are in Protista?
Yes,
These have been evolved from those. So
correct,
that's why they're also part of Protista
correct.
only.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Anyone else has any other question?
Yes, I have one more question.
Yeah.
So here it says that autotrophic and heterotrophic.
Hmm.
So then would humans be counted as autotrophic or heterotrophic?
Clearly, what do you think?
Like we make our own food, like, but
No,
I
we
don't think
cook
that's
our own
counted.
food. Do we make our own food?
No.
No. So exactly, we are clearly like heterotrophic for sure.
Okay, sir.
Hmm.
It's just kind of like enhancing a food.
Akshat, we can't hear you. There is too much of background noise. At least I can't.
Yeah, he's basically saying that there's a difference in consuming and making.
No, sorry, Ananya, can you please repeat?
He's basically saying that there's a difference in consuming food and making food.
Ah, okay, fine, thank you. Yes, Kabir. I was going to say Kabucha because I'm so used to saying that name. I say that to Arun sir's son, Kabucha.
Sir, like you, the donkeys are male parent and the horse is the female parent, right?
No, there are both types.
Yeah, like let's take one for example. So it's always like the male is of a horse or something like that. The features are always of one parent, right?
No, they are mixed.
No, like if a male, I think tiger is there and a female lion is there, then there's a tiger.
But then that is just a name given to it.
Yeah.
But if you look at the feature, it depends on which one is dominant. Dominant in the sense not dominant in terms of organism, but dominant in terms of genetic characteristics.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Because in the textbook it says like since the parent is like this, that's why it is. So I wanted to know. But in humans it's not like that.
Yeah. Even in animals, it's not like that. Not completely true. Okay, ask. A little louder so they can also hear. Within spaces only they can reproduce.
Yeah. So when we talk about species, all the horses come in.
Sorry, all the
Horses come in species.
yes.
So like, okay.
Okay, so that was Kingdom Protista. So again, we will quickly watch this small video, which is on Kingdom Protista, which will be kind of revision. I guess hardly a minute or so, this long. Yeah. 2 minutes. Yeah.
Kingdom Protista. These are single-cell eukaryotes. They contain a well-defined nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. Algae and protozoa are included in this kingdom, mostly unicellular or simple multicellular. These members live in water, that is, aquatic in nature. This kingdom forms a link with other kingdoms dealing with plants, animals, and fungi. Protists reproduce asexually and sexually by a process involving cell fusion and zygote formation. In this module, we include the following groups under kingdom Protista. 1. Chrysophytes. 2. Dinoflagellates. 3. Euglenoids. 4. Slime moulds. And 5. Protozoans. We shall see some characteristics with examples for the above groups. 1. Chrysophytes. It includes diatoms and golden algae, desmids, found in fresh water as well as marine water. They are microscopic and float passively in water currents, plankton. In diatoms, the cell walls form two thin overlapping shells. The walls are embedded with silica, and thus the walls are indestructible and left behind in large quantities. This accumulation over billions of years is referred to as diatomaceous earth. Diatoms are chief producers in the oceans.
Sorry, did it go back? I don't know.
As well as marine water, golden algae, desmid.
Oh, what is happening? It's going forward. Okay, so that line, particular line, I wanted to stop because it said something about diatoms are largest producers of the ocean. I'm
Found
not
in fresh
sure if you people are aware of what is producer and what is consumer. Oh, you know it? Wow, great. So producers, that means they are not dependent for the food. In a way, they are autotrophic. That's what it means by the producer. And consumers, they are usually the heterotrophic ones. So that is what the line is speaking about. So let me go back.
Phytes, diatoms, and golden algae, desmids, found in fresh water as well as marine water. They are microscopic and float passively in water currents, plankton. In diatoms, the cell walls form two thin overlapping shells. The walls are embedded with silica, and thus the walls are indestructible and left behind in large quantities. This accumulation over billions of years is referred to as diatomaceous earth. Diatoms are chief producers in the oceans.
Okay, so that was a brief about kingdom Protista. I guess we will stop here. In the next class, we will try to cover the kingdom fungi and then kingdom animalia and so on.
Can
Yeah.
you go to that page?
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any question?